Being self-centered and transactional, I took a shortcut to success when I was a young man, just a few years out of college, and I attempted a fraud against the government. I had these big, ambitious goals that I wanted to hit, and an opportunity kind of, I hate to use that term, but it essentially fell in my lap. I wasn't looking for it. It was just something kind of presented itself, and at first I didn't entertain that I would ever do something like that, but I ended up taking a couple steps to arrange a fraudulent delivery of government funds. I abandoned it, but I had taken enough steps to be guilty of a fraud, and I ended up spending 5.5 years in prison as a result of doing several dishonest things and being pretty stupid and short-sighted. And at first, I was 24 and a half. I was dating this beautiful Brazilian model. I was surfing, doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, playing golf. I had such this party life. And to then go sit in a prison cell, and I was basically in solitary confinement for the first, almost the first year. I was suicidal at first. It was the worst experience of my life, hands down. But very fortunately for me, I guess it was about a year in, maybe 11 months, 12 months, I started learning about mindfulness training, and just through books. I was just reading about, you can train the mind to be more happy, to be more at peace. And it made a lot of sense. It's very logical. And I'm kind of a logical person. If it makes sense to me, I'm going to try it. I had nothing better to do, right? I'm just sitting in a prison cell. So I start training mindfulness, which is the idea is very simple. You're just aware of your own mind and body throughout an activity, whether it's sitting or walking or brushing your teeth or whatever. And after about 6 months of practice, I was making the effort to be mindful during just about every waking moment of my day. And it was around that time, 6 months after I started practice, where I noticed, oh my gosh, I'm happier here in prison with no possessions, no girlfriend, no nothing than I'd ever been in my life. And it seemed kind of weird to me actually at first, but it also was very intriguing. So I'd been learning about books that were written by monks. So I said, well, I'm going to go as far as I can with this, and I'm going to live and train exactly as monks live and train. And I spent the last 3.5 years of my time in confinement basically living exactly how a monk would live in a monastery. But I call it like a monastery on steroids, because in a real monastery, which I've lived in as well, we might get to that, but people are very nice. Everyone talks quietly. It's very peaceful. This monastery, you look wrong at somebody, they're going to try to shank you the next day. So you have prison guards who treat you like an animal. And so you get to deal with anger and frustration and people that you don't like all the time. And so this kind of comes back to some of the questions you were asking. So here's where it gets really strange. You're going to think I was institutionalized or became institutionalized when I say this. But when I left, there was no boundary between inside the walls and outside the walls. If you would have told me you need to spend the rest of your life here, I would have said, no problem, without batting an eye. And here's why. Because the big shift for me was not so much, I learned how to be happy with nothing, which, by the way, anyone can do. This is completely repeatable and trainable. But where the big shift for me came was when I realized how much impact I could make on the lives of others in that place with no power, no authority, just being a prisoner like everyone else. I was asked every single day, because I looked so happy, what drugs are they giving you, dude? What's going on? Right? And so I had an opportunity every day to help somebody. And not just other inmates, but prison guards, people who I might not have liked very much. But I knew if I could help that person to be a little bit happier, maybe they go home and they don't hit their wife tonight. Maybe they actually have a nice conversation with her, and maybe they treat her better and their kids better. And I could envision this ripple effect of people leaving, inmates who left before me, prison guards going home, treating their families better. I could see how I could literally change communities, if not the planet, from inside of a prison cell or a prison system, just by adding value, bringing out the best in these people, helping them to be the best version of themselves.